Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome back to another Last Epoch dev stream. As always, I'm your host, Mike, and let's hop right in. I know things have been a little light around here, as we've had some exciting things happening in the gaming world recently. So we might be a little light again today, and that's totally cool. But for everyone who's here and watching on YouTube later, we're gonna have some fun. Play a little Last Epoch. Yeah, keep going until our voice gets a little higher. Hey, Heavy. Not playing Elden Ring? Oh. I guess I should do things that give me buffs and kill stuff. Last session we got our first legendary online. I totally found it all on my own on this character and didn't use anything from my stash at all. And it's a super well designed legendary to do, and I picked all the mods very carefully, and yeah, I haven't actually tried Elden Ring yet. I want to real bad. We started some renos on the kitchen. It's a lot of painting, and while I hate painting, it's got to be done, and it takes for freaking ever. So my evenings have been painting. You've been painting minis, right? A little different. Painting just like a big wall is so boring. Just like, great. Now it's the same color as that wall. Great. So if this is your first time here, if you want to ask questions, please feel free to just tag me in the question, and I'll be happy to answer it. We're just going to be rolling through some more Monolith here. I'm trying to get to the end. I actually want to get to Empowered Monolith on a character for once. I really want to get a couple more legendaries. I think we're going to work on replacing our chest, helm, glove situation, because we're still using the set, and it's kind of meh. I did say I wanted to get to Empowered Monoliths with this crappy set on. I don't know if it's gonna be possible though. Might be. We'll see. Hello, Kamixor 1988. Welcome to the stream. Glad you could join us. Hey Diddless, how's it going? Are you allowed to ask questions about the game? Kamixor, you are encouraged to ask questions about the game. You don't have to if you don't want to, but if you've got any, just go at Last Epoch Game in your question, and I will be happy to answer it. When it's slow like this, I'll probably answer it anyways, even if you don't at me. I'm just lazy and it makes my life easier. I think something's going on with those because they're not spitting out their little buddies. Oh no! Falconer, when we demand answers. When it's ready. It's very early. None of the skills set up for it. Like, it's, do not expect it this patch coming up. We have like concepted skills for it, but they're not like created. Very early. In character creation, a feature that will be added eventually, question mark, like changing gender. Oh, character customization. Yeah, character customization is it's something that we are interested in. There's a humongous thread on our forums about this in general. It started off as a like select your gender question, and it kind of branched out from there. It's one of those things that, like, yeah, having more character customization in character select would be awesome, and that's something that we are interested in looking at in the future. However, it is not something we are scoping for 1.0. So when we're like, this game is released, it's out, that version will not have character customization. We are planning very long-term support for the game, so that is a feature that could get added down the road. We'd love to add it. We are designing our systems with that future in mind, but we are not designing those systems yet. So maybe one day, I don't know, not today. It's just, the scope's just too much for us to do. Dahariel has resubbed for 10 months in a row. Hello, Mr. Streamer. Hello, Mr. Dahariel. Glad to have it. We're almost at a year. We are almost at a year. My goodness. My wife is took the little one to stay with my mom during all this, and she has forgotten that it's streaming time and just sent me a whole bunch of messages. Luckily, it didn't look like anything urgent. Warlock win! When it's ready! Same thing. All three of them, Warlock, Falconer, and Rune Master, they're all, it's like, no skills are created for them, no passives are created for them. Like, they're all the exact same spot. None of them have any work been done on them in quite a while. Like, it's, yeah. They are not right around the corner. When you already said there's no or very few skills in 8.5, how many new skills would we get similar to how many 8.4 had? Uniques. I don't know how many uniques there are. There's definitely a good chunk of uniques though. Partially because, like, there's uniques that are tied to the dungeons. Pretty sure there should be. So there's new uniques there. Yeah, unique item creation is still rolling ahead. A lot of the reason for the lack of skills was being able to get people that do work on skills more integrated into. Wow, 2 of them just dropped at the exact same time. That was, someone roll the tape back on that. Which one dropped first? I think it was the axe. Or maybe been the sword. Oh, it was the legendary potential Vulcanist. Oh, they both have legendary potential. How lovely is that? What was I saying? Uniques? Yeah, there's new uniques coming. I don't know how many. That pipeline didn't stall. Skills production pipeline stalled. But we got the jumper cables out for next patch, don't worry. Like next. Like after 8.5. Not quite happy with set items they are. Don't think legendary potential is the right, yeah. Yes. Oh, it was Kane talking. Yes, that makes sense. Haha. Whenever I see, like, anything of stillness on the ground, I don't know why, but I always read it as silliness. So Marauder's longsword of silliness. Llama! Welcome to the party, friend. I actually expected less people to be here because of Elden Ring than there are. It's just sitting in my account being like 0 hours played, taunting me. I'll get to it. I really loved Dark Souls and Dark Souls 2 and Dark Souls 3. I've never actually finished a Souls game, but I really do love them. They're just something always gets in the way of finishing them for some reason. Like some life thing, and then I just fall off the wagon and don't get back on. Start with the next one. Good day to you, Mr. Flibble. Thanks for answering the question. You are welcome. I'll try and answer them all if I can. CTMP when? I don't know. But, yeah. I don't know. We'll only catch half the stream. Have an after-hours emergency meeting with a client. Uh-oh, so we need leaks now if there's any. Oh, I see what you're doing. Trying to get those leaks out early, are we? I'll think about it. How do you feel about the current length of the story? I know you'd intended to add more, and I already feel it's too long. I think the initial playthrough of the story is actually at a really good spot. And I think that a lot of the times when I hear people talking about it being too long, and this is not ubiquitous, so some people may think the initial playthrough is too long, and that's valid feedback too. But I think quite often when the too long discussion for the story comes in, it's usually in reference to people who've played through it a few times and are looking to like making a new character and that sort of stuff. And it's usually like the third character where it's a problem, where like you haven't done the story enough times that you're like really, and I say third, I mean maybe it's second for some people or 10th for other people, but like you've done it enough that you're starting to like remember it. You're not really seeing too many new things. But you haven't done enough of it where you can like really optimize that experience and get through it really quickly. So I think things to help optimize that process a little bit would be good. So for people who are wanting to jump through it faster, and I think that's part of what dungeons are doing, is they are effectively shortening the campaign, because we are going to lengthen the campaign as far as number of chapters. But I think the goal is also to shorten the campaign as far as time for people in subsequent playthroughs. Yeah. I think it's a really good campaign. I have a lot of fun every time I play it. And there's also, I think it's kind of, it's like time flies when you're having fun. And I think that having a more interesting campaign as far as like small things to find and small things to discover in subsequent playthroughs, more variation on how you're doing that playthrough, things like that would help make it feel like it's going faster, even if it's not. Just making it be more fun in general, and that is something we're looking at as well, and improving how the story is presented. Little things can make a story feel like it's moving and feel like it's going without actually changing the length of it. So sometimes that's something subtle, like just adding voice acting to things, where you can like keep killing things while you listen to the story as you're killing stuff. And it's like those little things I think help a lot. Master Sword 1291, another 10-monther coming in hot. Thank you very much. That is fantastic. Very cool. I still can't believe we're in 10 months already. I love it. I love it. Oh, Avalanche, my nemesis. Run away. I know people were joking about having like when we were talking about the arena champions initially. People were joking about having like a specific person as the arena champion, and then like if one of them was like one of my characters or something like that, and then having a special like super weak to avalanche would be a trait that that character had. Definitely would be in there. It's not, by the way. That's all not happening, but definitely would do that if we were doing it. How do you feel? Oh yeah, it's that. So can we expect more than one unique specific to each dungeon? I don't know how many there are for each one. But there's more than 2 uniques coming this patch. I'll say that much at least. A lot of unique development gets done really close to the end of the patch. It's interesting. So like, quite often a lot of the like uniques, they kind of just get sprinkled in as we're going. So people will be like working on something and they'll think like they'll get an idea for it, and sort of if it excites someone else, then like that unique kind of just gets away to the races and it just gets slapped in. Getting the actual like base mechanical functions for most uniques is a really quick process, and then there's getting 2D art can happen really quick sometimes because we've got some artists that are I don't know how they turn stuff around so fast sometimes. And then now that we're trying to put 3D art associated with everything, that can take a little bit longer sometimes. Ding! 73. That's what I'm talking about. Give me that health. Forgot if I asked this last week, but has Last Epoch been tested on Steam Deck? I know someone has a Steam Deck. I don't know if they've actually tested Epoch on it yet. But like Steam Deck it's another platform that we have to support. We're not prepared to add an extra platform into our build pipelines right now. It also doesn't. So I don't know the full details of a Steam Deck's hardware and what things you need to have in your game to make it fully compatible with it. So you can say like, oh, it's appropriate for this. But there's little things like keyboard integration for typing in things like your name and your password. And then like making a new character for a character name and chat and things like that. Like none of that's implemented, which is why we can't say we have like full controller support, and why we can't like start pursuing console launches and things like that. Is because we don't have those things where you still do need a keyboard for certain aspects of the game, which means we can't really do a keyboardless device release yet. And those features are not a high priority for us. So until those features are in, there's no Steam Deck app release happening. And I'm sure someone will be able to like hack something together and make it work, you know, but no official support for it yet. Those are all things that we do have on our radar and we would like to get to. It's just we really need to focus on like core content, get the game released. We are really prioritizing where our development time goes to right now. Before anything, the game needs optimization. It's so frustrating to play the game like it is now. Thanks for the feedback. There's lots of things that come into the optimization category. It's a very broad topic, and lots of things that you wouldn't expect to actually affect optimization do. And yeah, it's something that's like constantly being worked on. Not something that's neglected or forgotten about or that we're not aware of or anything like that. Alright. There are small islands. throughout the end of time map where the monolith is at. Any plans to add monolith bosses on those islands or any special unlocks? Yeah, so right now a lot of those are just kind of there for to sort of like fill out the scenery, so to speak. I wouldn't say those are specifically like this one will at some point get stuff and that one will at some point get stuff, but that doesn't mean we won't add new full-size islands. So there'll probably always be little islands floating out about there, but I'm not sure if you mean the map or in the actual play area, but like we are intending on expanding the monolith and adding new timelines, replacing timelines, changing timelines, reorganizing timelines. Like these are all things that we're considering and we'll look at to spice things up as we go through new cycles and things like that. Yeah. I'd say it's unlikely to have extremely large changes to the monolith layout pre 1.0. I can see some little ones, but for the most part, we've got new features to implement. You know, that's code for we've got multiplayer to make. By the way. Regarding new character content, is the plan to introduce new specializations or new classes or both? Yeah, both. So there's an interesting thing that happens with so like if we add a new. So right now we have 15 classes, right? We have 5 base classes and 15. We have 12 mastery classes with 3 more coming before launch. So I'm just going to speak to it as launch. So we'll have all of the mastery classes, and so we'll have 15 mastery classes at launch. And that comes from 5 base classes. Wow. Adding in a new base class means we have to add in 3 new masteries, right? Because we'll sort of always have this like minimum 3. Adding in a new mastery, once there's like the difference between 2 masteries and 3 masteries is 50%, right? For a class. So comparing Acolyte to Primalist has 50% more masters than Acolyte does. But say we were to add a 4th mastery to, say we're adding a 4th mastery to Mage. We're talking post 1.0, once everything's, once we've got all 15 of them in. So we add a 4th mastery to Mage. Maybe that means we don't actually have to add a 4th mastery to everything else simultaneously. And I think that's actually fine where it's asymmetrical at some times. It would likely mean that we would try to add a 4th mastery to as many of them simultaneously, or like do them one at a time but get to 4 for all of them. If that makes any sense? It's gonna hurt. So we get to, like, so we add the Mage 4th mastery, and then we add a Primalist 4th mastery, and then we add an Acolyte 4th mastery, and then maybe we like add a Rogue Sentinel 4th mastery at the very end, so there's not one stuck without it. I don't know, I'm just kind of spitballing. So that might be a path we go. Maybe we add a 6th base class and 3 new masters for that one. That's a lot more work to do, because you have to, you've got new models, you've got new full new passive trees, you have to do a base tree and 3 mastery trees at least. So like adding a new base class is way more work than adding a new mastery class. Even if we did all 5 adding 5 new masteries all at once would be simpler than, it would still be a weird amount of work. I don't think we'd ever try and do that, but that would be actually a pretty similar amount of work to adding 1 new base class. So yeah, it's there's a possibility we could do any combination of those things, and it's all fair game, and we'll look at and we'll decide what we want to do post launch. But yeah, adding new masteries and new classes in general is definitely in the possible pile for post-launch features. There's a lot of different things that we look at for post-launch features, and Yeah. New classes are on the list. How many story points is a new class make? At least 7. I don't know. Yeah, not sure. I think what he's asking is like, what's the like time investment dev cost for adding a new class compared to story points, like major story events. Are people waiting for multiplayer? There was someone I talked to that wanted multiplayer, but most people just don't care. Yeah, multiplayer is definitely our most asked about feature. 100%. Oh, story points is like in a Scrum, like an agile development term. I see what you're saying. We don't really use the term. Like, probably call it like 5 epics. The most efficient way to play monoliths is to rush to the end of the echo as fast as possible. Do you see that as a problem, maybe even a design flaw? Absolutely. Oh, you want me to talk more about that? Yeah, probably. Okay. Yeah, I think it's a big problem. I think part of the problem with that is that you are... there's a lot of problems with that in my mind. One of them is it promotes a very much go, 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 move, move, move as fast as you can. And in a multiplayer scenario, if one person can move even 10% faster than another person, maybe like 20% faster than another person on average, then they're going to get to the end of that monolith and probably have enough time to finish whatever objective it is before you even get there. And the catch-up person is basically going to be just sitting there, running to the end, getting there just in time to watch it die, going to the next one, running to the end, getting the time just to watch it die, and going to the next one. And that's no fun. Then on top of that, it really just encourages specific skills to go on bars. I think it reduces build diversity because you're just, a lot of it's built based on how fast can I move, and there's not a ton of different movement skills. Partially because movement skills have a very clear initial functionality, and building a full skill tree on a movement skill is really tough, especially when there's multiple movement skills in the same class and making them feel unique and all that sort of stuff. That's a different problem though. So there's definitely quite a few problems with it, yes. I think it also, you spend more time in loading screens. It's kind of like a little thing, but I don't know, I don't like spending time in loading screens. I like spending time killing stuff and finding gear, right? And you might notice that when I play monoliths, I don't really play that way, and it's kind of intentional. I'm part of it is I'm just sort of two-leg scavenge. Can't scavenge it. Yeah, you'll notice it's something that I generally play much more relaxed, and I kill stuff on my way to the target and everything like that. And part of that is because I'm kind of trying to show a little bit more of what a like an ideal play pattern would be for us. And it's kind of like how I enjoy playing the game more. And I'm not really trying to optimize my run, and I'm just sort of playing for fun and hanging out. So like I know I'm not really playing perfectly. If anyone's ever wondered that, if you're like, does Mike know he sucks at this? Yeah, Mike knows he sucks at this. And it's more because I'm just I'm hanging out and talking and that sort of stuff. Anyways, we do have plans to incentivize playing more similarly to what I'm doing here, where I'm killing stuff, I'm taking my time a little bit. and we know that there's different ways to incentivize that. And I don't really want to say what the total plan is because it could change and it's untested. It's not for 8.5. But yeah, that is definitely on our radar and something that we want to look at changing up a bit. Like, and there's other problems that I didn't go into as well with it, but there's a lot of problems associated with it. Some people really love that playstyle, and we don't want to make it impossible for people to play that way and have it be fun and not feel like they're completely losing out on what they're doing. So, like, I personally, I would like to see a system where if you are just rushing through everything, it's similar to, but slightly worse than, taking some time to kill things. In most cases. And I'm sure there'll be cases where people are like, oh, okay, well, this type of timeline, I just race to the end. This type of timeline, I kill every single thing in the whole zone. And like, if people are like really trying to min-max and having this like variable play styles, so like, oh, this build is really good at killing things, so I'm gonna stop and kill things. Like, and have different play styles for different builds. I think that would be really healthy for the whole system. And that's sort of goals of what we're trying to accomplish with it. I don't know if that's all gonna come to fruition fully, but I think that would be a good place for it to be in. And like, so we do already have some systems in place for incentivizing killing things. One is just stuff drops, so you get gear. Two, the chest at the end does get more stuff if you kill more things. It's probably not, I know it's not enough of an incentive to convince people to do, to kill more things yet, because people don't. But there's other ways we can incentivize it too that will, I think, help convince people to slow down a little bit. And I want to be clear, the goal is not to punish people who are rushing, but rather to reward people who aren't. I hope that answered the question. I think it did. Alright, next question. Speaking of movement skills, would the plan in future be to give all classes 2 to 3 movement skills with shared cooldown to give more diverse movement? Yeah, I think we want to. There's a few classes that need a little bit more in the movement skill categories. Everyone might not hit the same number, you know. That's one of the things that is one of our main pillars of design is class identity, class uniqueness, class diversity, and having every single class have like at least this and at least that, and they all have at least these things. It does homogenize things a little bit. So yeah, if one class had 4 and one class had 1, but most had 2 to 3, you know, great. I don't think anyone will have 4 unless you count like specific things where you're like, okay, well, Primalist has like Werebear Charge, and it also has Fury Leap, and it also has like Spriggan Vine Teleporting, and it also has Swarmblade Movement 1, and like you like all these variations of them, and there's some of them are like kind of that's a movement skill, but not really. You could probably get up to 4 on some of them. Really going for these experience ones. I want to level up. I want those levels. When all dungeons are in place, what percentage of the campaign will be skippable, and will you get a minion skill point in the last act if you skip everything? If you okay, so first off, we don't. All dungeons in place is kind of a weird term because we could add more down the road. I don't know if there'll be like an end to it. We remove some, change some, you know, like that's. And so I'm gonna go like at 1.0 plan, and that could also change. So with all the dungeons planned for 1.0 in place, what percentage of the campaign will be skippable? Also kind of a hard question because some of them will have weird overlaps. So here's the timeline for the campaign, right? And we'll like say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Let's say there's 7 chapters like this, and say we have a Say we have like a dungeon that's like you enter here and you leave here. Like there's one dungeon. It's gonna take way too long to change this. Ugh. Let me change pens faster. Jeez. And you have like another dungeon here that's like this, and my goodness. And see another dungeon is like this. So like maybe this is what it looks like initially after the first few dungeons. I please do not take this as this is what it is, because this is for sure wrong. Okay. I'm literally just doing this because it lines up easy. It's possible that we could add a dungeon that does this. And suddenly, if you go into the yellow dungeon, you've just skipped the entrance to the green dungeon. So you can try and go back, but the only way to get back to this one is by going back and going to here and then doing this. Right? And then you've skipped this one. Or, you know, like there's things like this could happen where there's sort of overlaps. And so while if you're like, what percentage is skippable? I mean, maybe it's like 95% of the whole campaign is skippable if you get to a point where it's like this, and there's one like this, and there's one like this, or whatever. So like basically the whole thing's skippable, but it's not practically skippable on one character. Hope that makes sense. Yeah. And also the other thing as well is if you do this, if you take the yellow skip, taking the blue skip is going to suddenly be harder because you're probably under leveled at this point. And if you take the yellow skip and the blue skip, taking the teal skip is going to be really hard because you're probably really under leveled. Now, some people will have characters that are builds that are unique items from other characters that are totally designed to do this, and it's like that's how your character build is designed to work. And there's probably leveling guides that'll pop up that are like, okay, take this dungeon skip and this dungeon skip if you've got the keys for it and everything, and it works out really well because like, oh, the blue one, there's if you have like immunity to fire damage, it's super easy to do, or if you in the teal one, if you do a ton of cold damage, it's super easy to do, and there's like tricks you can do for each one of them type thing. Yeah, so I hope that kind of explains it a little bit better. Being able to skip everything is not really what we're after. Being able to customize your campaign experience and speed it up to some degree to make it go smoother or faster is really good. I probably should have saved that. Anyways, the other thing I was going to say with that is that most of the skips don't include any sort of passive or skill point stuff, so you do have to do some side quests in the campaign to get those anyways. It is really warm in here. Oh, I know why it's so warm. I'll be right back. Hello! I have returned! Here is a little tease. Ooh, what's that? No, I'm painting baseboards and shelves and doors and things like that in my garage just out there, and the door's all open, and I put a space heater in there in order to in order to keep the temperature up so the paint would dry faster, because it's just basically there's snow on the ground outside here. Yeah, so I wonder what this could be. It's pretty cool. Things do seem to be heating up in there. Here you go, Daedalus. The Daedalus said he was leaving early? Or is it Dahario? Someone said they were leaving early. There's one of them for you. Alright. Will there be more ways to spend your money besides gambling the final release? I hope so. I sure hope so. Yeah, like there's gotta be. I don't know what all of our gold sinks are. I know one of them. Yes, the more than one way than just the gambler. To answer the question, I don't remember which question I was answering for you, but I'm glad I answered it well. Or at least satisfactory. Mike confirms they'll add dungeons that skip from chapters 1 to 3. Maybe I like know the dungeon skips really well and all of that was just like my subconscious talking. Without giving away too much detail, will one of the new dungeons rewards for 8.5 inherit some kind of gold sink? I can't really talk about any of that yet. But more information on the dungeons is coming. People get mad at me for spoiling things too much on here sometimes. I gotta be careful, guys. Actually, it's been really wonderful. You all can thank Kane for supplying me with wonderful material to tease you guys and show you guys on stream, because they have been just hand delivering me stuff every Friday right before stream. It's been absolutely wonderful. If it wasn't for them, you would not have got anything the last 3 weeks, probably. I would have found something, maybe. It wouldn't have been as good. You got 19 minutes? Oh, I don't have that much this stream. I only actually have one. I actually have 2 more. Yeah, one of them doesn't really count either. I'll show the other one soon. But if you've been on Twitter, our Twitter recently, you've already seen it. Tell you what, Delos, if one of the things I'm showing, the thing I would show, it's just gonna be on our Twitter. It's already on our Twitter, so you can go see it there. But the last one I gotta save for a little later. I'm sorry. Yeah, if anyone has any idea what they think that screenshot I posted was, I'd be very interested to hear what you think it is. Just a reminder. This, if anyone wants to hazard a guess as to what this is, I'd be very interested to know what you think. Oh, excuse me. Getting arena vibes from it. NPC related to one of the dungeon rewards. Was there an NPC in that shot? I don't see any NPCs. My screen is like that big though for the actual like preview stuff. Because I'm walking with a bear. Nucleus the Betrayer, you have been vanquished. Nope. Let's actually go through the portal. Hey Mike, been a while since I've been around. Welcome back, additional Baker. Baker, additional Baker, yeah. I thought it said banker for a second on second reading. So while I've been around, what are ESG's plans looking like for the first semester of 2022? Much love. Well, I mean, we've got a patch coming out pretty soon. Sometime in March, this patch coming out. It's pretty big. It's a pretty big deal. We've been ramping up multiplayer development quite high. That's been a big focus for us the last little while. And that's going really well, which has been great. Yeah, that's about it. I mean, yeah, we've been like ramping up multiplayer development more and more and more has been the theme for the last year or two, right? New dungeon, and we have to do something to get rid of the pouring lava. Kind of maze thing, similar to the current dungeon. There's definitely a very distinct mechanic in the new dungeons compared to Temporal Sanctum. Like there's obviously some similarities in the overall systems, but very similar, or very distinct. Very similar. Very distinct mechanics. Like that extra, like you'll have a different ability. You'll have a different ability than Temporal Shift, and it will be very necessary for each dungeon. I don't actually need that. I don't actually need this either. Run away before they're looking at us too much. Yeah, make magic. There's gonna be a special button to use. There's every dungeon has like their own unique 6 skill. That's one of the things that for us makes a dungeon a dungeon. It's that it has a unique extra skill to use that interacts with a unique ability. It's kind of, so it is distinct from, but kind of similar to in a lot of ways how, for example, Zelda games do handle temples. Like it's really clear and obvious in a lot of the older Zelda games. Breath of the Wild definitely broke from tradition there, but at least the first ones on the plateau, it's the same thing. So like they are, that's an interesting bug. That haste. Anyways, it's where like you get the ability in the dungeon, you learn how to use that ability throughout the dungeon, and then when you get to the boss, you have to use it to fight the boss, and there's a special way that it interacts with the boss as a mechanic. Yeah, like that's It's not a Zelda specific thing. Like lots of games do things like that, but that's the one that always comes to mind. No. Will all dungeon abilities be used during the final boss fight of that dungeon? That's the goal. Sometimes it's a little tricky to do, and I think that's something that we might compromise on eventually. So like, maybe we had an idea for a sweet dungeon ability that works great in the dungeon, and it's really cool, and it's interesting, and makes the actual dungeon really fun, and we've got a sweet boss fight to use with it, but the mechanic doesn't really line up with the boss fight properly. I could see it being something that we might consider making less prominent in the boss fight, if that makes any sense. Like, temporal shift is a really big part of Julra, but it's like some of them might not mesh as well. For now, the two that are coming, it's pretty important to use it with the boss fight. See you later, Daedalus. Watch later, and you'll see the last tease. It's cool. It's interesting, but yeah, have fun. Whew. Late night painting, I tell ya. Not a fan. I am pretty underleveled here. 73 in an 80 zone. Oh, missed it. I really like Berserk. It's like tricky to keep that buff rolling and get it rolling in the first place. It just makes me want to keep it going even more. Okay. Bit of a weird one there. Get those XP nodes. I guess I could. The howl does have a pull, doesn't it? Is it on this one? Yeah. That would be useful, wouldn't it? We've got the pull on the leap. It's not a very big pull. Jump down here. Bah. Bah. Hey, can you add auto loot runes and glyphs? No, sorry. Mike, what's your current favorite build to play? Great question. Honestly, right now I'm loving Werebear. That's why I haven't started something new yet. I'm just like enjoying it, having fun, scratching stuff, you know. Other than that, I've been playing. My multiplayer character that I've been playing right now is a ballista bow rogue. So I'm playing Ballista Puncture Bow Rogue. And that's a lot of fun right now too. It's like that one's pretty early though. That one's like level 40 or something. I know it falls off, but I enjoy it. Your teammates gotta buff your Bliss's minions. There's a few buffs. So I'm trying to give as many party buffs with it. So like decoy, giving haste when you drop it. Any of the party buffs. So I'm like trying to play kind of a supporty rogue, a supporty bow rogue. It's fun. Oh, that's a cool wand. Fine. Good old hunter from WoW. Yeah, yeah. There you go. Except my my pet's a little stationary. No big deal, you know. Any plans to add more diversity with ranged weapons, for example, crossbows? Yeah, like there's definitely some weapon classes that are suspiciously missing from the game at the moment. I think crossbow is one of them. I think we need to be careful about adding too many new things like that pre-launch. So there's so many things that we're like, oh, we gotta add that one day. Oh, we gotta add that one day. I think crossbows falls into that category. Who knows when it'll happen or if it'll happen. There is cross. I mean, I know a lot of people have gone through and looked at the like some of the encoding stuff for it, and crossbows do have a spot in the encoding already. So there are no crossbows. You can't do anything to get a crossbow. But there's prep work for crossbows to go in. They're not the only one that has prep work to go in. And it's not hard to add. It was just we had them on the list, and then we're like, you know what? That's too much work. We need to get this game launched. So rein in the feature creep a bit. And there's some things that like we've put into other weapon types where you're like, that kind of fits. That could be its own weapon type. We might break it out later. There's things like that. Or things that were combined and we just like dropped half of it. So I'm thinking of polearms and spears here, where we like there were like polearms and spears in one category of polearms, and we kind of dropped. I'm pretty sure this is how it all worked out. We dropped polearms, turned them all into spears, and now there aren't really any polearms in the game, but we could add them back in as its own thing that wouldn't include spears because spears have its own class. Repeater crossbows, yeah, like the. I think I think there's room for two-handed and one-handed crossbows. I think there's room for fist weapons. I think there's room for a lot of other things too. I'd love to see like one-handed spears as well. I think like the like one-handed spear, like a short spear with a shield type gameplay, like you see on you watch like 300, like things like that. I think there'd be Be room for that. Bee launchers. Be careful what you be careful what you wish for. That's it's not bad right there. Yeah, that one's less good. Yeah, that one's less good. Need these. That. That. Ah. Run before they notice they've been left behind. But yeah, it's a balance between having a lot of options and themes and fantasies available, and keeping scope under control where we can have high quality versions, and leave room for expanding that content down the road. So if we were to have 5 spears and 5 pole arms, that's way more work for us than to have just 15 spears even. And I think there's more options we can give from a mechanical perspective that way. Thank you very much. Heavy Gaming TV has words coming out of my mouth. Doing good. 10 subs get to the channel. Thank you very much. Much appreciated. Congrats to anyone who got one of those. Oh, you got one for Lizard. Nice. Lizard is subbed. Yeah. What was I saying? Oh yeah. So when there's, if we have, say we had 5 and 5 for polearms and spears, or the option was to have 15 spears. Like 15 spears, we can put more mechanical things in there. There could be more end game ones. There could be more options, and from like just a build perspective, there's more things there to do. You might not have the polearm flavor there, and that's something we can add in down the road. But the big reason why it's easier to do 15 spears rather than 5 and 5 is that there's only one set of animations we have to do, as opposed to 2 sets of animations we have to do, and a whole bunch of other edge cases for various things. Animations are a huge part of the work associated with new weapon types, and like they take a long time to do. They take a long time to. There's a lot of rounds of feedback that go into it, because there's lots of different weapons that are held slightly differently, and each class has to hold them slightly differently, and has to make sense in every class's hands and feel good and all sorts of stuff. So, you know, it's, yeah. Oh, didn't mean to activate that right away. Yeah, keep that berserk going. Yes! Nailed it. That's like the mini game I'm playing right now. Just keep berserk going. Oh yeah, you hit Tunk, and yeah, you got a whole bunch of people that I recognize there. Nice. That's funny. Congrats to anyone who got one of those. Oh, tons of stuff there. That feels good. Oh, alrighty then. There we go. Yeah, let's go get a unique item. I want a unique item. I do. Alright, what were we talking? Oh yeah, the different item types. You want laser rifles? I think laser rifles might be a little bit outside the scope for our theming, you know, just... Aaron, unique design stream went. I don't know when he's doing that. Are we doing that together? I hadn't heard anything about that. If we are, we might be. No, your laser rifles. I'm sorry. Maybe if we've run out of ideas in 10 years. It's a time travel game, is you know, like maybe we'll go far enough back in time that there's like a race that used to live here that had them. I always kind of wondered about the whole time travel thing. Like, does it have to happen in like discrete chunks of 365 days if it's Earth, you know, or is it also like a time and space mover? I know there's specifics, like it doesn't move quite exactly in, like you're not in the exact same position you were in this time last year. It's a tiny bit different every year, right? So like you time travels, you sometimes end up like being like a foot off the ground and you fall right as you finish time traveling. What about slingshots? Slingshots are interesting. It's a really heavily used historical weapon. But they were just so completely outclassed by like more modern inventions like the bow and arrow that it's tough to really give them a fair shake in a situation like this. And I mean, you can just be like, magic, you know, everything's golden. So it's not impossible, but I think that would be a low priority on the list for likely weapon type expansions for in the future. That one does not have a number reserved for it yet. Trebuchets win. We'll have to get some sort of big castle assault and, you know, man the trebuchets. Go play some AoE 2. There's your trebs. Man, I love that game. I had a buddy. I was at a LAN party. Oh, this is years ago. Like, I don't know, probably 10 years ago now, at a LAN party. And one of the guys there was like, open challenge, anyone who wants to play Age of Empires 2 head to head, anything goes. And I tried to play it cool, like I didn't know what I was doing at all. And I'm like, oh yeah, I'll try that, you know, sort of thing. Oh hey! Nice! There we go. That's a sweet helmet to get. That's sweet. Let's check out the rolls on them. Not fantastic. You know, I've seen better rolls on this. Not awful. Anyways, and yeah, so I subverted expectations on how well I was gonna play, and then I just tower rushed him right at the start like a jerk. He wasn't happy. Yeah, I know I'm awful. I don't usually. That's not the sort of thing I was. It was a. I don't know how PG-13 do I have to be on this stream. It was not a PG-13 type of LAN party, and I definitely was completely sober. And we definitely weren't trash talking at all. We're good friends, so it's fine. We just played the one game. Moved on to probably moved on to something like Armageddon. That's a sweet LAN party game. It's just Tron, like the movie, but in game form. Replay. It's real basic graphics, tons of fun. An LE Community AoE 2 tournament. There's a couple people on our team that are actually pretty good, I think. I haven't played any of them, but the way they talk about it, I'm like, you know your stuff, don't you? I'm not actually any good. I'm, like, mostly played against PC, against the computer. I played one real tournament as a kid type thing. Got my butt handed to me. Watch a little T90 for every once in a while. That's about it. Oh, lost it. A failure. It's okay, we can start again. Rawr. I definitely wouldn't. I would compete in a AoE 2 one, but I would not do like StarCraft or anything like that. Nowhere near as good. I love that one. It's one of my favorites. How long before we can banish Lagon with Void Knight's Anomaly? I think that would be not a great thing to be able to do. I think it might cause some problems here and there. I think he's not big enough to fit inside the anomaly, or he's not small. He's too big to fit inside the anomaly. Some good stuns there. Alas, he is a big boy. Ah, yes. Put a lot of random debuffs on people right now. It's like a little bit of poison, a little bit of slow, a little bit of bleed, a little bit of armor shred. Maybe some ignite in there somewhere. Oh, good mods. Even that melee damage for minions is nice too, but base is hurting. Hi, Kernel Oil. How you doing? I am the Mr. Developer you say hi to. Hello. Wait, Karn oil, is that like Phyrexian oil? Like the oil that corrupted Karn? Will there be DLCs to this game? We want to keep the kinda is the answer to that question. Not in the no oil from pumpkins. Okay, yeah, that makes more sense actually. We want to keep the player population together as much as possible. So we don't want to do things like say like here's an expansion and only people that bought this expansion get to go play this content. Everyone else has to go play other content. That's not really the way we want to handle this. We want it to be like, okay, well you've got the game, so you're playing the content with everyone else who's got the game. Great. We are planning on having larger scale content drops that will come as like a all at once together. So you're but you don't have to like pay for the content drop, so it's a free content drop because you bought the game, you get the game, and it'll probably come similar. Like we'll be supporting the game long term with really strictly cosmetic only microtransactions, and I say really strictly cosmetic only, and I mean that. And I think that's really important when the game has, when it does have a sticker price associated with it. Like it's a pretty small sticker price, but like compared to games that do just strictly a sticker price. But yeah. So not DLC in the traditional sense of DLC, if that makes any sense. But tons of post-release content. Which I think is the most important part of DLCs. That big post-release content where keep the game fresh and stuff like that. Laser crossbows. Oh, hey, dropping lots of uniques. Nothing really overly exciting here, but getting a fair few of them. Playing PoE now, but looking forward to some new LE content. Love your game for me. Number 2 after PoE. Thank you. Glad to hear you're having fun. I mean, that's really the only important stuff, isn't it? For the record, I do also really like PoE as well. I remember like sitting in the basement of this house. It was one of the first houses I moved out of, and like buddy showing me PoE for the first time. I think it was still in beta or something, long time ago. And I remember like the description he gave, like it's like Diablo 2.5. You gotta check it out. All right, I'm in. Let's do this. Few-year rabbit hole. There we go. Keep it. There we go. This game has forever ruined PoE for you? No, that's not good. Both great in their own way. You don't have to play both. Berserk's so good. Forgot the most important thing to ask: laser swords. Well, there's already the wait till you see the model for lightsabers. Yeah. Getting kind of close to that. Chronostasis. Have this? It's not. Oh, it's just the whole thing today. I have the name wrong. The blue one. The in-game model on the blue one looks really good. Gets a bit of that laser sword vibe. I like the footsteps for the bear a lot. I don't know why. Just walking. Not even gonna charge. Just gonna walk. Alright, we'll kill stuff. What time are we at here? Oh, it's 20 past. Alright. I'll show a little thing some of you may not have seen here in a minute. A little thumb. I think it's really cool. I'll preface it a little bit. It's so if you have checked out our Twitter recently, you will have already seen this possibly. But I just wanted to show it because I really like it. I think it's really cool, and it's like time lapse of some of the art being created, and it's really interesting to watch like what goes in temporarily that sort of is used as a way to get the feel for it, and then like what goes on over top, things like that. I think it's really cool. We've shown my art on this stream before, and we I think we can agree it's awful. So this is the time lapse of Lena being drawn. Character art. And like you get to this point, you're like, oh, that looks great. It's basically done, right? And then like so much detail still goes into it. So many of those little touches, and then like the light at the end just like, I don't know, makes it pop. I think it's really cool. I know it's like way faster than it actually happens, and I know it takes a ton of time and skill and all that sort of stuff. And it's just, it's cool. I don't really understand it properly. I wish I was more knowledgeable about what's going on there, that I could really describe what's going on better. Next we're just dropping some on the ground. I don't want to do that. I still gotta fix this problem. Hang on to these. There's a cool volcanist. I've just realized that none of you can see the center of my screen, can you? Because I'm a professional. Ha! Nailed it. Is she related to the ginger mustache guy from last week? I don't think so. Oh, Rhymer, nope, it's Keeperlina. Yes, it is unrelated. I got one more thing I'll show you a little bit later on here. Yeah, she's either a basically new character or just relatively unused character up to this point. Is it an arena? This is an arena. I feel like just enemies are just wave after wave spewing at me. What's going on here? Yep, it's the arena. Don't die on me. Yeah, saved him. Yes. Stay with me, Paddington. He's Paddington today, by the way. Yeah, I got a double shout. It's definitely a bug that's gotta get fixed. Not sure why it happens yet, but definitely gotta fix it. Is that it? That's it. Woohoo! Keeper as in or as in animals? As in bookkeeper, I believe, yes. Welcome, Lizard. Did you see you got gifted a... I don't know if you were here earlier or not, but you got gifted a sub. You can thank Abby for that. Seven-month hard earned. All right, let's get rolling. I do really like the axe shape. I don't know what it is about it, but it speaks to me. Not as much as its claws do, though. Yeah, we were talking about earlier about having ways to incentivize killing enemies. Yes, I know I was zooming in as Avalanche was getting up there. You know, I just can't pass up an opportunity to almost die to Avalanche, right? And there's this in particular timeline, this echo, reminded me that like we do have some mechanics in place already to say like, okay, you gotta kill some things at least, because it doesn't tell you where to go until you kill enough things. But that's not this type of stuff that we're looking at doing. I've been watching people play Elden Ring, and they use some lovely two-handed melee weapons When will we destroy our foes with them in LE? I'm jealous. From Software does great stuff with their two-handed weapon animations and two-handed weapon design in general. I think a lot of it has to do with this, like, so I haven't played Elden Ring yet. First off, so I'm kind of more going off of what I've experienced in Dark Souls and other games they made, but there's a little bit of a difference in the camera angle that changes how animations like that, where the camera is, how fast things die, how important it is that you do or don't take damage, things like that. It's really distinctly different for the most part. I might be just completely wrong on this because things can be very different in Elden Ring than Dark Souls, and I just don't know it yet. There's definitely some stuff we can learn from it, and we are improving animations all the time for sure. But a lot of times we have to make things look really good really fast. Like not development time fast, but look really good when they're done really fast. One of the biggest things people do with especially melee characters is try and make them attack faster. And so the animations need to look really good even when they're very sped up. So sometimes we're doing these animations and we're like, all right, we have 1 frame of anticipation, and like it needs to be really responsive to. So we're like, we have 1 frame of anticipation, and a lot of times, and that's an exaggeration, but the anticipation time we have is very, very little. And a lot of times in those more Souls-like games, you have a big anticipation, and that I think helps a ton, especially with two-handed weapons. How close are we to announcing the date for 8.5? Great question. I will answer it when I finish this monolith. But yeah, so the animation stuff, yeah. So we quite often have very little time in the lead up, like the anticipation. So when I say anticipation, I mean like the time before you're like actively in like damage frames. So there's like in an animation there's an anticipation, I don't know the exact terms for this, but there's like anticipation, action, and follow through or cooldown or the ending. So there's sort of like the 3 main stages, and most of the time in that like follow through or cooldown time you have to be able to cancel what you're doing. So in a lot of animations with in Epoch anyways, you can, there's, each skill has its own set a low priority ratio, which is a complex term for how long before you can interrupt it, basically. And what that does is it gives there's like time in the animation where like, okay, so there's the anticipation where you're like, okay, the arm's back just to swing a sword, and then there's like the actual like cutting motion where you're actually like in that and the damage gets dealt. It's usually the very start of that piece, and then what's left in that follow through is sort of optional. So you can like use a movement ability and get out of that last little bit, or just move your character, like physically walk. It's not very good with Bear because you're locked into a lot of the animations with Bear. They're very short animations too. But I think that's a big part of what I think that's a big part of what makes them feel good. You want to do big DPS, yeah. That's a big part of it too. That's mostly balancing stuff. But we do agree that two-handed weapons in general in Epoch are underpowered compared to dual wielding or sword and board. I think that's a pretty easy generalization to make. How close are we to releasing the date for 8.5? question I'll get back to. Castle Hawkthorn, hello. Alright. So while I prep this here, a little something to show you, a little something. Our social team is still preparing what we want to do for the our community support team for what we want to like get all the news together, like all pre-patch stuff. But I do have someone who's dressed to the nines to share with you. Tide you over a little bit. Ooh, he fancy. Yeah, Nifty is. I can't see the name of it. I'm assuming it's Nifty, and someone said that, so I assume you can see it on a big screen. Yeah, Nifty's great. If anyone missed it, we had him on stream. Did a quick little Lich sketch on stream, which was awesome. Lizard asks, can you talk about the goals with the Catalyst rework? I'm really curious. We've got something bigger, I think, probably, lined up to share more details about Catalyst, similar to what we've done with all the other reworks for more specifics. I mean, the biggest goal is make more than 1-2-ish of them useful, as it is now, and make them compete better with other options, I guess is the short answer. And a lot of that comes from just the fact that they are one of the last ones to get their updates. It means they haven't, like, almost all of the items got a power bump when they went through all the base types got a bit of a power bump when they went through the rework, and Catalysts hadn't gone through that yet, so they hadn't got that yet, so they've been falling by the wayside a lot. So making them functional in more builds, giving them more diversity, more options, making the mechanics more interesting. A lot of it is also, I think Catalysts are getting one of the biggest visual upgrades of all of the item types that we've gone through. Some of my favorite, at least. A lot of the Catalysts that were available before had potential to look cool and just like weren't quite there. These look really good. They look really good. Woo, no more handbags. I never said that, but yeah, well. There was they felt, so a lot of the Catalysts, the reason we did the handbags, and the reason they didn't like swing properly and nicely, a lot of that was partially because we were having a tough time with the animations getting them to look good, as more of a thing that like either hovered or like held, and like not have them just be like a rock you're holding in your hand and look kind of meh, and having them swing and sit nicely. We were trying to do it with more natural physics stuff, but as soon as you start putting more bones in there, bones in the like physics system, it starts taking up a lot more performance problems. So we were cutting back there, and then by the time we figured out how to do a lot of those things, we were already into the reworks, and they're just late to the party. But it's gonna be worth the wait. Yeah. All right, let's keep this party train on the tracks. There's an XP one behind there. Going for it. So much tedious balancing, props to y'all. Yeah, it's there's a lot of it for sure. We try and do as little of it as we can, which I know sounds weird. Partially because until all of the features and content are in, a lot of the balancing doesn't really matter that much because it's gonna have to change in a lot of cases anyways. So quite often we'll be like, okay, well, this isn't like, is it worth our time to do a really rigid and intensive balance pass on this? Well, I mean, if we knew that these other dozen things were definitely not going to change, yeah, probably, but we don't. A lot of what we're doing right now is looking to 1.0 to see, like, okay, is how is this going to behave in 1.0? How is this going to interact with other features that are coming in 1.0? Yeah, and multiplayer too. So we're trying to, the things we're trying to design new now, we try to design them as though we're putting them into the 1.0 version of the game. So we do as little reworks as we can to anything we're adding now as possible. Mr. Bear, you are real low. Please don't die on me. I know I have something that heals you, but I don't know what it is. I think it's Maelstrom or Shift. One of the two. It has a little bit of healing factor to it for you. But your health is just so huge. Ooh. Little 1 LP Snowdrift. Don't mind if I do. Oh, here's a big question. I will read that very shortly, Blizzard, I promise. Just don't want to die. And still being, I'm only 5 levels under now. We're on experience, good experience curve now. That means anything, for anyone that doesn't know, anything more than 5 levels under leveled doesn't give you, like, you only, so right now because I'm level 75, if I'm in a level 87 zone, I only get level 80 experience. So the zones get, for experience purposes, down leveled to 5 levels above your current level, if they're above that. Woohoo! I think everyone agrees that balancing now is a bit pointless. I often wonder what will be the final goal of this is too much, this is okay. I remember when that quote from Judd from Quickstarter where he stated he wouldn't allow dash full string clear dash. What's your personal ideal? One-on-one interview. I think that, so there's that whole dash full screen clear dash type gameplay is something that we definitely want to avoid, and that hasn't changed. And I know that a lot of these systems in games like this naturally will make that type of gameplay a really profitable, useful, good, I don't know how else best to say it. It incentivizes you by doing that. How fast can I move? Speed clear meta type thing. And I think part of the problem is that our endgame systems incentivize that rather than giving room for less speed clear meta style builds to thrive. And this ties back into, I don't know if you're here or not, for what I was saying earlier about the monolith clears being run to target, kill target, next. And we have plans. They're not completely set in stone yet, so I don't really want to say exactly what they are yet. But we do have plans to incentivize people to kill things rather than just charge. And that still incentivizes people from getting pack to pack to kill things as fast as possible, but it does slow things down a little bit. And there are some natural, like there's some good examples of this in, I know I'm going to use a game as an example that has that speed clear meta still in it, but so in Path of Exile you have one of the big differences between maps in Path of Exile and Timeline Echoes in Last Epoch is that there is a cost to entering a map. And this is similar to the cost that there is to entering, for example, a dungeon, where there's you have a key that has a finite resource that the number of times you can enter this thing to get the most you can out of using that resource. So you're more incentivized to kill everything in a situation where you're like, okay, well, there's one key is worth 100 enemies. And I can race to the end and kill 10 of them, or I can kill all 100 of them along the way, and if killing all 100 of them has some sort of value to me long term, it's worthwhile to sit and kill all the enemies instead of just rushing to the end. And so that's a big difference here. There's no cost to going into the Echo. You can race to the end of it as fast as you want, and you don't lose anything apart from the opportunity of the reward you would get by killing everything else, which isn't enough to incentivize doing it, because you're not losing anything from not doing it. So there's a few options that we have that we can add to like give ways that players can want to slow down and kill things. I'm trying to be as vague as I can here because I don't want to spill the beans. I think in a perfect system, it would be equally viable. Well, not equal. I think in a perfect system, the most optimal way to play would be to be killing things instead of just rushing as fast as you possibly can. And I'd really like to see those encounters be more deliberate and interesting. And when I say interesting, sort of like the difference between, in my mind, the difference between an interesting encounter and a non-interesting encounter is, did I have to make some sort of decision, or was it the same? Every single fight, do I go in? Do I slam and then I swipe till they're dead? And that's just all I do. I slam and I swipe till they're dead. That's every single encounter. Or do I have to sometimes like pick out different types of enemies that are more dangerous and isolate them? And do I have to stun specific ones in reaction to certain abilities going off? Do I need to charge out of AoE ground effects that are happening? Like, are these necessary actions to take in order to beat this content, or can I just attack and it'll die, and I don't need to worry about anything? You know? And that doesn't necessarily need to be the thing that every single person does. So like, I know some people really like that speed clear style where they're just like, I'm gonna zoom as fast as I can, and I really want to say that we're not trying to kill that as an option, but more that it's not the just, well, if you're not doing that, you're doing it wrong, and that type of, I guess, mentality that goes into it is something we'd like to assuage. So if you are just rushing through everything, we still want that to be something that's like possible. We don't want it to be like, okay, well, in order to get through the monolith, you have to kill 100 enemies, or else you just don't get to deal with it. And it's like 100 is most of the enemies in here, or something like that. That's not how we prefer to do it. And we don't want to say like, okay, well, if you if you just race to the end, you get punished and you gotta wait 2 minutes because you got here too quick. Something like that. Like, it's not about punishing the people who are rushing. It's about giving a reason to stop and kill things, and giving a reason to explore, and giving a reason to look around, and giving a reason to do these extra things and break up the rush. And like, maybe there's a chance in these echoes where like okay, the objectives here, maybe there's a chance that like over here some cave spawns every once in a while that has like a cool extra challenge in it that if you complete it, it gives you a bunch of sweet stuff or something. I'm that's just off the top of my head here, but there's having things like that that can break it up, I think, are really valuable as well as just incentives to killing things. And like I was saying earlier, like we do have incentives to kill things, but they're not enough, and it also doesn't necessarily, and when I say incentives to kill things, I think the thing that comes to people's mind a lot is really quickly is gear, is having that, like, okay, well, incentive to kill things, like my incentive to kill things is they'll drop loot or they'll give me more experience. There's actually other things we can do, other incentives we can give, and I think a lot of the reason is that people, because we're just going right into this, one of the main reasons why I think, could be wrong about this, people like to zoom through monoliths really fast is they're attempting to stack, either like they're working towards stacking corruption as high as they can, so they're just trying to get to the edge to a point where they can get more corruption, or they're looking to they're boss rushing, so they're looking to complete the stability as fast as possible. And so if there's this sort of like trade-off where maybe killing more enemies helps with those goals, it might be better to stop and kill more enemies, because you may actually complete those goals faster than if you were to just rush to the end. I hope that makes sense. Ooh, 2 XP wins in a row. I'll take it. And this is a really evolving thing. So like, maybe we try something like this and it doesn't work, and we have to try something else. Great. That is totally fine. Alright, let's see what I missed. Master Sword 1291 asks, do the devs anticipate the future multiplayer and associated performance changes make significant impact for us as game content changes? For example, skill changes, class changes. There's... I think what you're asking is like, are we going to look at a situation where, say, there's like a skill that causes frame drops? Do we just like yank the skill out, or like there's a node that causes frame drops, we just yank the node out and good to go? And that's a last resort, and it's rare that it's necessary. Another one of these ones. Usually we can find a way to fix the problem, and quite frequently the hardest part is identifying what the actual problem is, because there's so many little pieces that work together to make a skill work. And I'm using skills as an example, but this is like replace skills in this with an enemy, with a zone, with whatever, and it's basically the same thing. And so identifying, sometimes it's like, okay, well, in this zone when I'm fighting these guys, they get huge frame drops. Okay, great. There's like 10,000 things that could be. Like it is finding the exact thing that's causing the frame drops is really difficult, and we've been creating tools to help make that a lot easier. And that's made a lot of the changes we've done recently way faster and easier to find, which has been great. And there's people that are going through this. There's someone that's right now going through every single, I think every single zone to try and catalog specific. I think it was zones. Might have been skills. Maybe it was enemies. Maybe they were all three, just to find every little thing that's anomalous and trying to isolate specific things for to find out exactly what's causing the problem in all these situations, and that's all really important. It's quite often like with a lot of bugs in general, not just performance issues, you'll spend 90% of the time looking for it, and once you find it, you're like, oh, +1. That doesn't happen that often, but like, it's sometimes you're like, oh yes, let's switch the order of these two lines. Okay, great, it works now. Had that happen yesterday, actually. See, I don't anticipate multiplayer and performance changes having a significant impact on game content. Having no impact on game content, no, there'll be an impact. And there's because like there's some skills, like there's that one skill, healing hands, still doesn't have a skill tree. Is the only skill in the game that doesn't have a skill tree that's a player skill. That's really intentional. I know it seems really weird that it's just sitting there without a tree. It's been like that for so long. It's intentional. It's just chilling. And like, if we made it, if like that's a skill that will get affected by multiplayer for sure. Yeah. Oh, someone else is here. Hello, I'm assuming that's Judd. Hello. You can come to join me in one of these for a while. Glad to see you. Actually getting pretty close to wrapping up here. I don't think I have time for one more, but I might. Let's try. Yes, I have split personality. There's me, and then there's me. Yeah, it's the if anyone doesn't know, Judd's the game director, who's the person talking on this account, but typing, not like, yeah, typing in chat right now. Oh, we're gonna be cutting this close. I guess I gotta rush on this one. Stay in form. Snack things every once in a while. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Berserk. Take us home. Oh, don't end the stream on a death mic. Oh, lost it. That's fine. Two minutes. Can I make it? I believe. Yes! Get me out of here! Yeah! Made it. Nailed it! Alright. Well, that'll just about do it for us here. Oh, that was a good stream. I had fun. Oh. Thanks for coming out, everybody. I hope you had fun. I know I did. That'll just about do it for us today. If anyone has any more questions that were not answered, or I didn't answer them well enough for you, please feel free to head over to our forums, Discord. We're very active on those platforms and others too, and we'd be happy to answer more questions.